Hi everyone. Good evening.
Hi everyone, good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening. Not too bad.
Good. That's good to hear.
At this point in time. This is
Yeah,
probably going to be our last coffee chat before you guys go for your attempt.
yeah,
So yeah, just try to make the most of it. Get any sort of questions you have addressed.
yeah.
We
Although we do
yeah.
have a couple of questions that we have received from students, but maybe how we wanted to maybe start off. If anyone has a question that he wants to ask live, and then perhaps we can address the questions that we have received on, our chats. Sure. Yes, Khushbu, go ahead, and then, we can open the floor
Okay.
for others as well.
Yeah, sure. So I've been practicing few cases, and what I've noticed is that when I write my response, I sometimes club two AOs as one, but when in the solution, it's like written as two separate AOs. Does that impact the marking in any way?
So, you would never know when the AOs are clubbed or not. So,
Mm-hmm.
you do your best to identify the AOs. Normally, this happens on a day two, but for
Mm-hmm.
the day two, I think you would already be knowing the structure now that, generally you receive 13 questions or assessment opportunities, six of which are like financial reporting or management accounting, and the balance seven are generally assurance or, your elective. So
Mm-hmm.
that is something you should keep in mind. Sometimes if you feel that okay, in assurance rather than seven, you are seeing six. So
Mm-hmm.
just a quick pointer to your mind that okay that there may be AOS club together so that you can identify better. And this you would be able to identify when you're outlining your case itself, right? So you would have 13 assessment opportunities at the time of outline. So you
Mm-hmm.
know that okay, this is as per the standard structure. I shouldn't think much.
But even if you end
Okay.
up attempting maybe two together, but then if
Yeah,
you covered the points that were needed for both of them, that should still be fine.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in day three cases also I've noticed like sometimes when there's like a decision to make, right, between buy or lease or something like that. And they do the AOs for like quantitative analysis as separate and qualitative as separate, but I usually like combine that into one AO.
Yeah, that's
So,
fine.
I think generally, if it's like a buy or lease decision, things like that, generally
mhm,
it will be one AO. Maybe
Yeah,
there could be a specific one-off case where
yeah,
mhm,
you've encountered this, but I think majorly this confusion would only be on a day two exam because day three is
mhm,
generally very clear and especially like separately
mhm.
laid out. In day two,
Yeah.
it can be confusing when they talk about audit procedures and accounting treatments which are
yeah.
wrong. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's it's bound to
And you can
confuse.
never guess, right? So
Yeah.
so you shouldn't bother about things which you have to guess in the exam. You just do your best, and if the marker wants to assess it separately, be it.
Okay. Okay. And I know this next question might be too late to ask now that we're so
That's
close
fine.
to the exam, but I still want to go ahead and ask that in
Yeah.
what cases for like day three do we target like an RC versus a C
So see,
when writing a response?
honestly, what we guide students all the time in all the coffee chats also, and even one-on-one, you attempt your best. It
Mm-hmm.
is, like given the time in hand, you attempt
Mm-hmm.
your best. So you shouldn't be focusing that which questions you have to get a C or a RC. Like that is for marker to decide. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
these situations, if they come in time crunch, then it is a different story, right? But if you are able to manage time well, then you shouldn't be focusing that, okay, this is a tax question, let me just do a RC. Because in the end, you would have gone through cases considered for a taxation question if you have, got questions as to what is the taxability from employee and employer standpoint, right? So
Mm-hmm.
all you need to do is just present the issue and link with the provision and give your conclusion. So in these
Yeah.
sort of cases, you should never think that okay, this is a tax question, I should just uh, present my response in a very concise manner so that I just get a RC because that is what is required. Obviously, just do not go beyond your time limit.
Mm-hmm.
Just a very quick refresher on day three time limit is generally it is 10 minutes per AO. just a very ballpark, but there will be one financial accounting or management accounting question which should take 13-14 minutes. So
Yeah.
that is the only thing. So that extra 3-4 minutes that you spend in financial reporting or management accounting, that is something you need to cover up, maybe in assurance, maybe in taxation. But again, by that we never mean that, in that taxation or whatever last question you are attempting, that you compromise your response in any manner.
Okay. Yeah, because in management accounting, it happens quite few times that I do the entire solution. I know my solution is right too, but then I may have like missed adding notes here and there, like okay, where I got this information from. And I know I've seen feedback from you guys that okay, these are important. So, but
Yeah.
those notes are those important to reach like C, or is it like important to even reach RC? How
So
important are they?
those sort of notes, which we give into your feedback guide is for, you know, is mainly for C's, right? So
Mm-hmm.
because we want, so when we mark a particular assessment opportunity, we want you to, get a C in that. So we would never say, okay, these are the notes just for RC. So obviously, our notes are fashioned in a way that you get a C in all of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, it is not practically possible.
But even in feedback guides, like one thing you need to understand when we do the case marking is that we will point out every little thing that you missed out on. But that
Mm-hmm.
in no means, no ways means that you have to do all of it in the exam. But like
Yeah.
as markers, like we have to point each and every little thing out when we are marking your cases to help you understand that, these are all the little things that you have to pay attention to. But in
Mm-hmm.
the exam, if you end up missing like a couple of things here and there, it does not mean that you will not get a C and you'll get an RC because you didn't do that little thing,
Yeah.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it is very subjective. It will depend on the marker who marks your exam eventually, and how
Mm-hmm.
the other students performed on that AO, different variables like that, right?
Yeah.
So you
Right,
don't have
right.
to stress very much about being perfect in
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
sense. Just like try to stay within that time limit, but also like
Mhm.
put your point across and
Yeah.
conclude everything that you do. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
That's
think the CPA way of writing is like the most
Very
important
important.
yes,
piece.
that's
Yeah.
Right.
that's the most
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And the best part with day three, even for the other students here, is that you don't have to go to nausea. Don't like unless you have no clue about the question and you have some time with you, like in those 10 minutes, then you can go to nausea to find or look for a response, because otherwise you don't know what to write in there. You can do that, but other than that, try saving your time and just like try to paraphrase the technicals in your own words and
Yeah.
link it with the case. So 10 minutes, it sounds less,
Yeah.
but then on the day of exam it will be fine. You
Yeah.
don't have to write very long case facts as we do in
Yeah.
sorry, very long gap, just like we do in day 2,
Yeah.
in day 3,
Mm-hmm.
because approach is different in both the days.
And Kushbu, you would have also received our CFE success map. So in which
Yeah.
you have, the CPA way of writing. So try
Mm-hmm.
to, just have all of that in mind, because again, as you mentioned, structure is very important. So never leave around the structure. And even when you are in crunch time in an assessment opportunity, jump to the conclusion then, because whatever you would have analyzed without a conclusion, any which ways you will always be at RC. So, always ensure that you do that conclusion if you are in crunch time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was my question I asked you a few days ago as well,
Yeah.
that I've noticed in day two and day three solutions, in like, for example, in day two in assurance, they're writing like proper risk assertions and then procedures. But when I see the day three solutions, they've not followed that. Like they've just
Yeah.
written like, this is
Yeah.
what the procedure should be, like in a more concise way.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, that's one thing that I also struggle with, that okay, I don't have to write detailed everywhere, and then I
Yeah.
lose out on time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially, like some students are habitual of writing case facts also.
Yeah.
That,
Mhm.
for example, this is given in the case, hence whatever you want to write. So,
Yeah.
like you can skip writing the case facts, especially on day 3,
Yeah.
because it
Okay.
takes, like the sentences become long and it
Yeah.
takes you time to type. There can be different pointers in the case. So you end up spending a lot of time there.
But again, always follow the structure. So you like in a financial reporting question, obviously you need to mention your case fact in the issue, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like just a one line. But yes, even in the issue, sometimes so we were reviewing cases in the last couple of weeks. So people tend to elongate the issue in like two and a half,
Yeah,
3 lines. So
three
that is
sentences.
something we don't want you to do.
Yeah, my problem is the other way. I make it too short. And then I
Okay.
feel like I've missed on like this is too concise,
Yeah.
especially for like day two.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I tend to finish day two very quickly, and then day three, I'm like struggling to manage my time.
Okay.
But yeah, just keep looking at the time. That's the only thing
Yeah.
that will help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think I know the answer to this. The D2L is not available in the exam, right? Only no shares available.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I think those are my only questions.
Okay.
So thank you for that.
Okay.
no
Yes,
problem.
Adarsh, go ahead. Oh,
Hey guys. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I unmuted now. So
okay.
the question again, I think very relatable to the previous speaker who was saying. So I was trying to debrief one case, 2022 September May CFE, I think, and then what happened was I came up with under my planning about only 5 AOs for the audit, and as we know now, the 13 AOs should be the standard, right? Six for
Yeah.
the and FR was actually 2 AOs, not 3 AOs, so I was confused. Like there should be 3 MA, 3 FR, and 7 audit. Now the problem is there
Mhm.
was 2 FR and then I think 6 audit. And I'm like, I'm struggling to find out more. And then at the same time, I was thinking, oh, maybe is there a hidden AO that I did not find? So I
Yeah.
just try to spend time on that. Now, what happens is when I looked up to the feedback, which I was very curious on, like what's happening. So what these stupid guys, sorry, what these guys did is they separated the for example audit plan, they separated
Yeah.
the OFSL risk and the materiality approach in the other one.
Yeah.
So and then for the FR there was 2 FRs, but then there was 4 MA. So 1 MA they separated the qualitative and quantitative. I was like, what the heck, how would I
Yeah.
know that? Because in the first place I got like shocked. How do I have
Yeah.
this short amount of, but what if I did not answer to that depth? Because they separate the AOs, right? If you don't
Yeah.
separate the AOs, I would just do the quantity based on what I think should be a good C level. But if you separate the AOs, then there's assumption that you have to give a good amount to each part of the AO,
I
right?
think one thing I want to clarify first is
Yeah.
that there won't be always three FR and three MA. So there will be a total of like generally, right? So when we say 13 assessment opportunities, that is generally which has come up in the past. And it is a mix of 6 plus 7. And that 6 is financial reporting plus or management accounting. There could be 6 financial reporting questions, right? Like you can never guess. So, but that is
Okay.
something that we tell. And again, like maybe reiterating my point when I was responding to Khushbu, is when you are outlining the structure, right? So at that time, again, you would have seen that, okay, you have just 5 plus 6,
Mm.
and you are seeing just 11 assessment opportunities. So
Right.
it is difficult to distinguish that in a management accounting question probably, but in assurance, this is a very general tendency maybe for everyone, that they tend to segregate the risk and the balance part. So not the entire like the risk or assurance analysis they would do in one assurance
Mhm.
in one assessment opportunity. So that is something you can look out for in when you are answering in a CFE exam, but generally it should be a standard of 13 assessment opportunities.
I see. So basically, we are answering the question based on what it highlighted to us as a question, and not finding there a hidden A or something that I missed or probably
No.
missed. You're constantly thinking like, "Oh shit, did I miss something? Did I miss something?" Because it's
So
not
there
proper.
is no hidden AO concept on day two or day three. So, when you write day one, just like forget that concept completely, right? Whatever you have to answer on day two and day three will be laid out in the question itself. Now,
Okay,
the
perfect.
question drills down to the only like issue which you guys and most of the people face is that is an AO separate or like combined with something else? So like I
Right.
said, like Ravneet mentioned, that in the materiality, normally you can also gauge by, the type of question. Like for example, materiality is something which is a full-fledged question on itself.
Yeah.
So it would not be kind of, paired up with something else. Even if it is, it would, I would rather treat it as a separate AO and, like keep materiality separate, right?
Yeah.
Just so that kind of I can achieve that depth in that question. But then the area which is most confusing is generally the audit procedures, because like that is
Right.
something where students kind of, write all three for example, there's three accounting errors and then you had to write audit procedures.
Yeah.
And then what students will do is that generally club all three as one AO. But then even when you do procedures, like don't treat that as one AO, because you have to
Mhm.
write that set number of procedures for each issue
Yeah.
and
Right.
start with the risk assertion, right?
I think
So
this is one point I also want to highlight again. Perhaps, even in a RAM question, risk approach
Mhm.
materiality. So as Guneet is mentioning, like if you are following the structure, you shouldn't care how
yeah, you
many
don't have to
AOs are
worry
there.
at all.
Even if it is one AO, you have to follow the same things. If it is a different AO, in fact, it is good for you that you were able to do RAM in maybe 13 minutes, 14 minutes. So in fact, it is good for you, right? So just leave it for the market to decide, but you just ensure that you are following the depth. Sorry, you are just following the structure. But yes, again, to your question, others, when you're saying that maybe if it was given as a separate AO, then I would have given it more
Yeah.
important. If
Yeah.
you have identified the question, then if you are following the structure, there is no way that you won't get a C, right? So
Makes sense. So basically, what you're saying is, overall, there's no hidden AOs, so I don't have to worry about it. No matter if I find four AOs, five AOs, as long as it's outlined properly in
yeah,
day two, then that's what I'm answering. No
Yeah,
here and there looking, right? So no hidden
yeah,
AOs.
yeah, no,
yeah.
And yeah, as you're saying, then I shouldn't be like, no one of us should be caring for, oh, if there's only five or four. We just answer whatever there's a question, and that's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And then that's up to them how they kind of mark
yeah,
or do
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, very relevant. And the issue statement also, is there a guideline to do you have to write two, three sentences in issue statement, or one liner is enough for day two or day three?
As long as you're able to, explain what the issue is, one and a half line is good.
One line is
It's
good.
fine. Oh,
Yeah,
because I was doing four lines, so I think that's probably more and taking my
Yeah,
time.
that's a
yeah,
lot. Four lines for issue is definitely not needed. Just
yeah,
like one line and to the point, highlighting that, to
Right.
discuss the accounting treatment or whatever.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So they're not giving the mark on that. That's just a formality of us putting them.
Yeah, they are
It's just a
just giving
step.
the structure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just a step
Oh,
to follow, but yeah,
okay.
they don't mark you on how detailed you wrote the issue.
yeah,
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
no worries. Yes, Divya.
Hi, I have a question related to day one. So in day one quant part, whenever there is NPV analysis, sometimes the period like 5 years or 10 years is mentioned. But in some cases wherein they are just talking about partnering with another company and they give the discounting rate and profitability figures, there is where that is when we like there is a trigger, like since it is a discount rate we will be doing NPV analysis, but they don't mention the periodicity. And when I looked at the solutions, they generally, in case wherein there is no periodicity mentioned, they are using 5 years. So if I do that, do I write an assumption since there is
Yeah,
no periodicity mentioned, I am doing
yeah,
5 years? Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Perfect. And the second question is, in day two cases, especially when we conclude, I saw one more thing during my capstone two cases is in the feedback guide, it also mentions whether there is any impact on the users because of this FR issue. If I miss that, I generally got RC, but when I
Yeah.
write that, I get C. So every time there is an issue in the accounting, like the FR topics, I write the impact, but is it also necessary for the MA topic, or like I just write the impact for all the 6 AOs?
No, so there cannot be an impact in MA, because in MA all you're doing is basically doing some calculations and concluding on that the number that you've arrived, right?
yeah,
Generally on day two in MA. But then in FR, the financial impact generally means that they are expecting you to give them a correcting entry, or basically telling them what accounts in the balance sheet or P&L, basically books of accounts, will be impacted.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't believe that I was also doing the same error. I just used to miss the financial impact completely, because I thought that if I'm just concluding my response, then that's fine. And I was not sure on the number of, like the accounting error number that I had arrived at. So I would just skip that. But then when I started debriefing in detail, I realized that the same thing that you said, that if I gave a financial impact, I used to reach C. If I did everything right, but then just missed on the financial impact, I would only land to an RC.
Yeah.
So that is when I actually started giving a journal entry there, based on, even if you are 100% unsure on the number that you have arrived at, even then, just consistent with your analysis, give that journal entry. You can like write a journal entry, but I would just like conclude like this, that the financial impact would be that the company will debit cash by this much and credit this by this much. I would just like write it in one sentence, and that's about it. So yeah, financial impact is like definitely important, but it's only needed in financial reporting, but not in MA.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is only like more important in day two cases. In day three, if they are specifically talking about what is the impact, then only we will be writing along with that AO, or else we can just skip in day three cases, right?
Yeah, I think generally we can skip in day three.
Maybe like prefer to maybe write a journal entry in case of financial reporting AOs. I think that would be a quick recommendation, because in the end, it is just a way of presenting. When you are actually recommending, instead of recommending in a line, you are putting that across in a journal entry. That is something you can do, but yeah, you can avoid.
Okay, and my last question is, in some calculations, I
Yeah.
think we are allowed to use a financial calculator in the exam, right? Or no?
You do get a scientific calculator there. So if you want, you can use
Oh.
it. But we generally just used Excel, because in day two and day three, especially, there was nothing like very complex, and everything would just like
Yeah.
work better on Excel.
So
And
if we use
very-
calculator for any of the calculation,
yeah.
do we need to write like how we
Yes, you
arrive?
have to. Yeah, that is the problem. That is what I was coming to. So even if you do that on a calc, but then you have to, write it on your Excel sheet. So it is sort of, double effort on your part. So you can, perhaps avoid using a calculator and just do that on an Excel.
Okay, okay, got it. Perfect. Yeah, these were my questions. Thank you.
Okay.
No problem.
Before we perhaps go ahead with the other questions on the call, so I'll take a couple of questions which we received on the chat. So one of the questions was that at the time of day two, consider that you are stuck in a situation that you have very limited time, and so you started off well. You structured your responses well, but in one of the questions considered took 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and the entire time management that you had planned, so that just got out of the way. And now in the end, you are left with three assessment opportunities with a limited time. So how do you plan those three assessment opportunities? Should you go for all the three assessment opportunities but do at a very basic level so that perhaps you get a RC? Or maybe you can do one or two and leave the third one, but those one or two should be at a C level. So on that maybe.
Yeah, so on that, now this thing is a little subjective, because it would entirely depend on how much you know out of those three questions. Like, for example, if I give you an example of our own attempt, like there was MA questions that I was left with, and there were two of them, but I had limited time. But then for me, I wasn't sure on both of the MA questions, because in our attempt, MA was very tricky.
Yeah.
So what I did was that I started with one, and then I did whatever little calc I had in my mind that I could do out of it, and whatever formulas I could remember. I did that, concluded, and then I just quickly moved on to attempt the next one as well. And I think I spent hardly like 5-10 minutes on each on a day two, because I didn't know it, right? And there is
Yeah.
no way for you to go to nausea or look at MA, right?
Yeah.
So that was what happened on a day two with me. But then, had there been a case that it were two questions and I knew one of it, my approach would have been to first attempt and finish that one.
Yeah.
Maybe if say I have like 20 minutes left, right? So I would give 15 minutes to the question I know, because I would be sure that even if not a C, I could get an RC there, right? But then I would not miss out on the final
Last one.
question that's left as well. Because see, one thing that you need to understand it is that if a question is tricky and it's kind of out of syllabus and something that is not tested generally, it is the same case with hundreds of students sitting with you.
Yeah.
Right? And this is one thing that everybody tends to forget. If you found it difficult, everybody else finds it difficult as well.
Yeah.
So if you just leave that question overall, you can never get an RC, right? The only thing you will get is an NA or an NC. But if you still attempt something, make anything of the case facts given, at least start with the issue, at least start with a little formula that you
Yeah.
can remember, anything that you can remember,
Yeah.
there is still a chance that you could get RC, because all the other students would be struggling in that question.
Right.
So it is very important that instead of going with that tendency that, let me attempt the two questions, or maybe the one question I know and the other two questions I don't even know, so why even care to, start with those questions?
Yeah.
Don't go with that mentality. Try to, like, first of all, this is a situation that doesn't arrive, but in the
Just in case.
exam, just in case, you end up being in the situation,
Yeah.
then this should be your tendency to maybe like decide on the spot how
Yeah.
many questions you are confident on, attempt those well first. But then when I say attempt those well, doesn't mean that you have to be a perfectionist in them and then don't leave time for the other question that you
Yeah.
don't know at all, and then move on to that last question. Try making something out of it, because the one thing is that in this exam, I know that there can be something which came out of syllabus and you didn't practice or you didn't know about it.
Yeah.
But there will always be something that you can do, something, at
Yeah.
least like very basic, but something that you can do.
And in fact, on a similar note, we received a question on in relation to assurance, that what happens when, or how should we tackle a question uh, of assurance which we do not know at all. See, like, one thing is for sure, I hope it doesn't happen, but one or two questions will be one off. And so that is the level, right? So 20% is considered easy, 60 is considered medium difficulty, and 20% again is considered difficult. So you cannot prepare for the last 20%, the difficult level, because again, as Guneet mentioned, it is difficult for everyone. And in the attempt which Guneet is mentioning, when the situation came around management accounting, like the management accounting questions were difficult. Consider if you are a student. So this is the third question, perhaps again, out from our chat. So consider a situation where the student attempted the management accounting first. So he was not left with the management accounting in the end, but he started off with financial reporting or management accounting, and then somewhere in the middle, he is attempting that question. So even before he shifted to his elective, which could be assurance considered in this case. So, he is thrown out of the game that, okay, I couldn't attempt two management accounting questions appropriately.
It messes up with your, like
Mind.
the calmness of your mind
Yeah.
at that
So
time.
in those situations, because you are already into a management accounting question, one suggestion here from our side would be never exceed your time limit just to, perform good. So if you have 14 to 17 minutes, whatever time you dedicated to management accounting, and again, you were not able to do well. So do not, again, take it on your ego that, okay, I did this topic, I did ABC analysis in perfection. This question should have been easy, but I'm still not able to do. So I will try to complete this first. So consider the question you didn't know, you spent 25 minutes on that, compared to 15, 17 minutes, which was your allotted time. So that 10 extra minutes you are losing out those 10 extra minutes on an assessment opportunity.
That you could have gotten
yeah.
a C on.
And which could be elective, which could be assurance. Consider if you are attempting that, in the end. So never go overboard on any of the assessment opportunities. The first question we addressed was if you are left with, very limited time in the end. But if you are doing difficult questions during the exam, when you think you still have 2 hours to go and you may cover up, believe us, you won't be able to cover up as such, but you should never go overboard your time limit. So that
But
is one
like
suggestion.
one recommendation that we have here is that always start with your role. And that is one thing that most of you who attend all the coffee chats would know, that we emphasize the most on this thing, that always start with your elective role. Now, even in your elective role, there can be one or two questions that you don't know. Again, it depends on you if you want to leave it for the last, but we didn't. Because there was this 15-17 minutes allotted to every AO,
Each
right?
year. Yeah.
So I sat on my assurance AOs in for example, 7, right? So first 5 that I knew, I attempted them first, but then the other 2 that I was not very sure about, I didn't leave them for
Yeah.
last, because you always have it in mind that there is a chance that you might run out of time at the
Yeah.
end of 5 hours.
Yeah.
So I sat on that within that time frame and attempted whatever I could think of, whatever I had in that 15-17 minutes time frame.
Yeah.
Then I already knew when I was outlining the case that I don't know MA, right? That those 2 questions of MA. So I started with FA, financial reporting instead. I covered my financial reporting, and then I moved on to the MA question that I knew, and then the other 2 questions. But leaving whatever you don't know out of FA and MA for the end, so that at least you can do justice to whatever else you know
Right.
well in the exam. Right? Just do your best in there, and then with whatever time you're left with, then work on the questions that you don't know and you have to sit and think on.
And the first part, which we mentioned, like 20% easy questions, there will be questions which are like right off your bat, and these questions. So again, obviously you should not go overboard the allotted time, but there will be questions which instead of the 17 minutes, you will be able to complete in 11 minutes.
Yeah.
So you should be completing that in 11 minutes. Why? Because that 6 minutes time is perhaps for the difficult questions, or maybe even for the medium difficult questions, which usually takes more time. Like sometime we have seen that students come to us and say that in the WIR they are have a tendency of taking more time, like more than the average time. So that's 6 minutes that you saved in a good question that you knew. So you can save it. You can use that somewhere else. So again, even in the questions that well, this tendency of still sticking to 17 minutes, is a bit challenging.
And one more thing that I always share with people is that on my day too, it is a 5-hour case, right? So I had to take a washroom break, and that is the reason that when I ended up with those last 2 MA questions, I was running short of time. It took me around 10 minutes to finish with the whole process, because it was cold in the auditorium, so carry a light jacket or something.
Yeah.
Right? But then it's a big auditorium, whatever center it is, and the washrooms are on one side, and you'll see people running, during the exam. And even if you run, there will be lines. So, yeah, even taking a restroom break can take 10 minutes, and you will feel like 10 minutes was like one AO, right? So, it will happen no matter how much you plan. So that is why we just emphasize so much on taking, paying special attention to your role first.
Yeah.
Then go ahead for FAMA with the questions that you know, and then leave the ones that you have no idea about for the end, so that you can just with whatever time you have remaining, you can work your best on those.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
our.
We have more questions, but perhaps we can shift back to the people on call.
We have somebody with the
Utilizer. We are not sure of your name. Do you want to unmute? I have unmuted you, in fact. Okay, so maybe Kritika, if you want to go ahead next.
Sure. So I have 2 questions. First one is on day one. I was debriefing day one cases, and I saw in the board report that while writing the qualitative points, they have first addressed the mission and vision thing, and then started with pro and cons. So. And I remember when we had that discussion on how much we need to write, you mentioned that 4 points each. And what I was doing, the mission, whether it's going with the mission on mission, I was including in the 4 pointers. So does this has to be done separately, like pro quant 4 and then mission mapping with mission as a separate point?
No, if you're talking about the different strategy questions or that you
Yes.
get, so
Yes.
within that you need to write at least 6 points for you to get a yes on qualitative aspect. And for your integration, out of those minimum 6 points, minimum 3 points you need to integrate with the situational analysis, which is vision, mission, KSF, corporate values, could be any of
Or
those.
SWOT.
Or SWOT, yes.
Okay. So that 3 includes mission and vision,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
But we generally say that you try to link at least 4 because
Yeah.
one of the pro cons could be
Mhm.
something not mentioned or
Yeah.
things like that. So just to have that buffer.
But never miss on, like, the total number of points
Yeah.
should be at least 6, and those 6 are at discussed level. So if you are just mentioning something as a con without explaining it, and you wrote just 6 pointers there, so just because of 1 point that you didn't explain correctly, so you get thrown off from the qualitative aspect, and consider that you didn't do your quant well, so you are like marked at marginal, which will become challenging for you to pass day one. So specifically for qualitative, if you are writing just 6, you have to be like 100% sure that you are explaining each of them in entirety. And when we say explain, it is generally the why, like why it is a con or why it is a pro, rather than just writing that that
Writing case facts, basically,
case
that
facts.
this is a con because they mentioned that this because of this project the company will suffer losses or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving the case fact, you have to add your own value to it.
Mhm. Okay. And the other question was regarding the reference schedule. So will it be like when we will navigate through Nausea, will it have a specific link for reference schedule?
So you will have that in a hard copy form. So
Okay.
generally those 3 pages you will have in hard copy form, and you can refer to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No
No
worries.
problem. Do we have any? I think there was one question in chat.
Chat.
Yeah, Murtaza asked something. Can audit procedures be written after the FR issue? Yeah, sure, you can do that. But just like one thing there is that, like we were discussing, generally there would be around 2 to 3 accounting issues. So at least like what our tendency used to be is that we used to discuss the FR issues separately because it was a whole long
Yeah.
AO in itself.
Yeah.
And then when we would go about the audit procedures, like make it a separate AO, but you can like write it after you discuss the issue because you are already in deep
In the flow of
in the flow of that issue. You can write your procedures alongside if
like
that works
whatever
better
is
for you.
faster, right? So
Yeah.
generally we used to segregate FR and assurance, but if you have, if it saves you more time, so you can do that, Murtaza.
Yeah.
Yes, Parnika, go ahead.
Hi. So when we say that we need to track the time, how exactly are we doing it? Like, is there a minutes timer on the screen, or do we have to look at the clock that's there in the auditorium?
So you will have like big digital clocks
Almost after
wherever you
every
are
3
sitting.
benches
Yeah.
and every nook and corner of the auditorium,
Yeah.
there's so many watches you cannot
miss.
Okay.
you cannot miss. It's just that you have to pick your head up and look at it.
Look at
Like remember to do that.
Yeah.
So is it like a like a stopwatch countdown, like it's going reverse,
No.
or it's just a
No.
normal clock, digital clock?
If it is reverse, I think it will make people more anxious. So
I
this is
know.
why
Yeah,
they
it's
just
just a
have
clock.
time clocks, just basic time clocks.
Oh, okay.
And then
Okay.
I think they keep announce. They do announce.
No, they
No?
don't. No, I don't
think I
recall.
remember they did.
Maybe,
Maybe.
but like generally, maybe in the end, like when you are
Yeah,
left with
in
30 minutes,
yeah,
I guess,
yeah.
but 30 minutes or
Then they
like 1 hour,
announce.
then they announce.
Yeah, because it can happen that the exam didn't exactly start at 9, and it started at 9:15 due to some error at the place, right? So then we
That
have to
that is
start
very
tracking.
rare.
Yeah,
I
Okay.
don't
that's rare.
think that will happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now that we are into the exam hall situation, a couple of things I want to mention to everyone. Perhaps you can ask more questions, surely in more detail. But like when you go into the exam hall, in terms of timing, 9 to 1 that you will have on a day one and day three, and 9 to 2 on a day two. Uh, you know, again, for people who are not very good at maths, so you need to have that in mind. Okay, 9 to 9:40 is my reading time, and then 9:40 to 9:50. So like have that in your mind all the time, because when it is 10:30 for you, you should be knowing at what stage you should be at 10:30. Otherwise, you may be writing on a piece of paper. how did you manage? Like, did you just count time?
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, it was the perhaps same for, both of us. So like we were counting time. So just have that in mind.
But
There
you
will be,
like
yeah,
this would apply only for the reading time. Like
reading.
once you are done with the
Yeah.
reading time, that okay, like by 10 I'm done with reading the case, right?
Yeah.
Then when you move on, I would just like count my 20 minutes on day 2, for
Yes.
example, that okay, I have 20 minutes. Now, for example, if I'm starting at 11 o'clock, I know
Yeah.
that by 11:20 I have to be out of this AO.
Yes.
And then 11:20 again, I know that okay, 11:20 to 11:40.
Yeah.
So I would just like have that in my
Yeah.
mind.
And just in case if we have suggested you not to do that, but if you, overflowed like for one assessment opportunity, so you should know by how much are you lagging? Like, are you lagging by 10 minutes, 15
Yeah.
minutes, like whatever.
So that you
Because-
try to cover it.
And if you're not able to cover it, then you would already be knowing that the last assessment opportunity is getting missed. So you would be missing something. This is how you should
So
keep track
like you
of
have
time.
to be mentally active and
Yes.
like working with time.
Working with time. And there will be earplugs given for you, in the exam hall. Watch out for that. Go to the exam hall on time. As Guneet mentioned, earlier in the morning, washrooms are obviously busy, so you should be getting on time. And then even the computers that you get, you should be knowing what you are getting onto. Like, do not reach
Yeah.
the exam hall at 8, 8:30, 8:40, because you need some time for to settle down. And then what all you can take, you just can take a wired mouse to the exam hall. Plus you can have some snacks with you, and those snacks is more or less, maybe a snack bar, or maybe a banana,
Or
something like
fruits.
that.
Carry your water bottles,
Yeah.
carry your jacket or something. And then another thing is that carry pencils.
Yeah.
Or I don't think you can carry pens,
No.
but carry pencils or highlighters so
Yeah.
that if you're doing outline on the case, a hard copy case,
Yeah.
then you have all that stuff with you. You can carry an eraser, but not a sharpener.
Not a sharpener.
So carry a couple of like pencils
Yeah,
with
and
you.
all of that in a clear bag that
Yeah.
you need to carry. So buy one if you don't have. And when you go to the exam hall, the bag that you would be carrying, so there are no lockers designated for each of the students. So it will be just an open area.
They have some tables set up in the room, so you
Yeah.
just leave your bag there.
Yeah.
You can carry your cell phones, but obviously they'll stay in the bag.
Yeah. So except cell phones, obviously avoid carrying any valuables.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think these are like basic exam hall things. But if you have any other questions, during the next 4-5 days, let us know as well. Okay.
Yes,
So,
Monica.
and about the formula prompt, for the NPV or the IRR, like how we see it in Excel, do we see that prompts even in the tool that they are giving us?
I think we do, but I'd rather remember
Yeah.
the formula
Yeah.
because we weren't sure either in
Yeah.
our attempt, so we just remembered the formula.
Especially the basic ones, NPV, IRR, and payback. So payback we
Yeah.
can calculate otherwise, but NPV and IRR, yes,
Yeah.
you should calculate. Like no.
But I do believe there is a
They-
formula
yeah.
prompt, but don't rely
Yeah,
on that.
because we did
Okay.
learn, but I do remember not using that.
Okay. And I am doing performance management as my role, and I will have MA in the common AOs, and I will have MA in my role as well, right? So if I get enough C's in my role-based MA, would that also count on the level 2 sufficiency, or is that separate and that is to be done only from the
Yeah,
common
that
AOs?
is separate. So elective depth is separate and FRMA depth is separate.
Okay, even if it's like the same subject, okay. And hence it's better to do the role-based AO first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And last question for situational analysis on day 1. I know we've not marked on it, but it's like a basis and a foundation for us to answer on the strategic opportunities. So can we write the SWOT in like just pointers, not making it into a sentence? I can mention so what and why is it a strength, but do I need to like elaborate it, or can I just make it in like short?
What do you
Sorry,
think?
can you?
So she's asking that
I
in the
actually missed
SWOT.
that line. Sorry.
In the SWOT, can she just write the case fact directly as a pointer, or does she need to answer like why with it?
So you
No. My question is,
yeah.
I know I need to answer the why with it as well. My
Mhm.
question is, do I need to write it in a statement format, or I could just write like, good with profits on XYZ, and hence it is good for the cash flow. Like, can I just make it
Yeah,
very
yeah,
short
you can,
in the situational
you
analysis?
can do that as
Yeah.
long as you are again explaining what it is about, right? So you just explain the why, and then you can paraphrase however you want to.
Okay.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, okay. Yes, Guru Ganesh, go ahead.
Uh, in the answers, what's the weightage on the professional judgment? What I mean is, uh, if I assess case facts as satisfying the definition criteria for example, intangible assets, but in the board's response, those case facts will not be meeting the definition criteria.
Yeah,
Or for example, while doing the materiality, I assess it as for the percentage as 3%, but they assess it as 5% on
yeah,
the net earnings.
yeah.
So would that fall under right or wrong or professional judgment?
Second one is professional judgment, because
Okay,
there is a range. If you are falling within the range, you are okay. The
okay,
first one is yes and no, but it is unfavorable for you. So how I can explain that? So the first question which you mentioned that, okay, intangible assets, consider that you capitalized, and institute says no, it should be expensed.
yeah,
So, how you are marked, you're not marked on the basis that, okay, you said capitalize, then you concluded. So you are awarded for the conclusion, you are awarded for the, the other parameters. But when you are saying capitalize and consider it is just one item that you are considering, let's just for simplicity consider that is the only item that you had to analyze, and you analyze it correctly. Well, sorry, incorrectly. So then you get a partial, and then you do not, reach the competent level. So how the feedback guide is structured, if you are analyzing the things reasonably well, then you are given, a Y or a yes, right? And then you reach like competency. So there is not professional judgment involved perhaps in the first one, but yes, in the second one, right? So but yes, there are question or assessment opportunities for financial reporting, which, different students could do differently.
okay,
Uh, so yeah, so professional judgment, yes, you are given that leeway of professional judgment. Guneet can do something differently and I can do something differently. But again, so the marking is not based on accuracy. It is based on professional judgment. But yes, you should at least be going in the right direction.
right direction. Okay,
That makes
okay,
sense. Yeah.
got it. And one more question. While doing day one, so when I was trying day one, I just started writing the situational analysis while reading the question itself. Like, as you find out,
Yeah.
these points are strengths, or they are key objectives or core values.
Yeah.
So that approach is right, or do you think I should first finish reading the question then start on
Yeah, you
You
with
can do
can,
that.
writing?
yeah,
You
you
can
can
do
do
that.
that.
You
That's
can do that.
completely
Okay,
up to you.
People do
okay,
that. Just again focus that, your first 60 minutes is like reading time, and then 15-20 minutes, whatever is your situational analysis time. If you are within that time frame, do whatever, right? So,
okay,
and on that note, one question comes to my mind here is, all of you are going into the exam in a couple of days. You will feel that maybe consider on a day one, maybe after 40 minutes, people have started writing. So do not get afraid with that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, maybe on your question, Guru Ganesh, there could be students such as Guru Ganesh who have started writing,
First,
SWOT. Yeah,
yeah.
the SWOT part first, or maybe just to have that, mental edge, they have started writing the vision mission because they analyzed it in a couple of pages that vision mission, COP values and KSF is, the same. So they have started, but then the student on the side is thinking, oh, how can the student on the left
Yeah, so like
start
this
up?
is a real thing. that peer pressure of keyboard tappings is real, because like you would still be reading your case 30 minutes into a case, and then you would see that this somebody sitting right next to you has already started typing.
Yeah.
So just ignore the noises from the whole auditorium, just ignore them, because like there's different approaches. Some approaches work better for somebody.
people,
You don't
yeah.
even know, maybe he just read one appendix and he started attempting that appendix first, and then he'll move on to the next appendix and
Yeah.
then do it. Different approaches,
And
right? So
maybe,
just don't get into that pressure that,
Yeah.
oh, he's already started writing, that means I'm running late, I also
Yeah.
have to start. Don't
which is why we mentioned you do get earplugs and
Yeah.
do make use of that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, during the exam, you will face this situation. So, better avoid it.
It's just like asking for additional sheets. Somebody will be asking,
Yeah.
five additional sheets. Somebody wouldn't be asking for anything.
Yeah, that's
All
right.
right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks so much.
No problem.
Yes,
Blaze?
please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. I have a question concerning day one. When I'm doing the strategic options, like each time I have a recommendation or a conclusion, whatever, my question is at the end when I'm doing my final recommendation, should I really need to write it again, or I can just copy all my recommendations from the top and then just put it down just to get time, right? That's what I'm thinking. Like, does it make sense, or should I really write
Yeah.
again?
So, Blaze, I think you were not part of the session, perhaps, right? Because you are not a registered student. So maybe still we can answer this. So what we, told other students as well in that day one strategy session is you should not be copy pasting from above, because in the end, consider that you are a CPA and you are suggesting to a businessman or a small or medium sized business in your CPA report. So when you're analyzing different, situations or
individually.
projects, so when you are concluding for those projects, you are actually concluding just considering as if that is the only project that you had to analyze. And that is what you do for second project, third, and fourth. When you are concluding at an overall level, you actually need to, take a helicopter view and then see what changes. At least, in the end, your conclusions will be similar. But at least you need to portray that you took a helicopter view and you are looking things at a holistic level and considering all the projects all at once.
Yeah, together, basically like comparing them together and then analyzing which one works better with the company constraints or
Yeah.
company objectives and things like that, and then forming your overall recommendation.
I will suggest you to, go through at least one day one response, like how the institute is responding, like see the conclusion that they have done for a specific assessment opportunity and see the overall conclusion, like how they have mentioned, and you will see some differences. Like when they are doing the conclusions, like within that, strategy questions or assessment opportunities, they are maybe, interlinking with the situational analysis and
Or an overall maybe financial constraint or covenant or something like that.
so you will actually see that difference. And if you get stuck and you're not able to do things, just try still to paraphrase or write differently what your overall conclusions was. So just that it doesn't look that you have copy pasted.
Okay, so if I understand, each strategic option, the recommendation should be standalone. Because, for example, if I have, let's say, my first strategic issue is like maybe invest, like, let's say, 5 million for a particular project. If I recommend that, and then my second one is for like 8 million, but I have like 7 million available, I cannot still say I recommend the second. That would be already above. So
Yeah.
each recommendation should follow at least my my analysis, right? I can't do recommendation on standalone basis.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
That is
right.
right. Yeah.
Because if you only have, for example, like 7 million or 8 million in the company, individually, you might, based on the qualitative and quantitative analysis, individually, you might say yes to 3 projects. But then you go like decide on an overall basis, you need to take care that there's only 7 million available, right? So
Yeah.
only things that can fall
Yeah.
into in other aspects as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
No
No
problem.
problem.
Yes,
Yes, Khushbu.
Khushbu.
Yeah, my question was like in a lot of cases when I do day two and even day three, I start reading the question. I read like the first bit of it, like before the appendices or like before the assurance requirements or any other requirements, and I start writing my answers. Is that the correct approach, or should we read all the appendices first and then start writing?
So, like, our recommendation is that you skim through all appendices because it is
Mhm.
possible that there could be some case fact that could relate to one appendix which was given in another one.
Yeah.
But then
Mhm.
what you can do to save time on reading is that, when you see there's tables, like there's quantitative facts given in that appendix, you can just like do a quick skim through. And for the tables, just maybe pass it,
Yes.
because when you come to the appendix, you will anyway have to look at the numbers in detail then.
Yeah.
So you can save that time when you are doing the reading and outlining.
Yeah.
But yeah, that being said, definitely do go through all the appendices, because that is when you will get like a full idea of what the case is, what is expected out of you, what all the
Yes.
company is doing, so that you can do that, like mind mapping in your
Yeah.
head that, okay, this is the whole case that I'm looking at, and this is all that's happening.
Yeah. And especially like standard questions such as ABC costing, or things by the look of it, you would know that this is a standalone question.
Yeah.
So those sort of things you can just pass. And especially for me, because back in the day, so I was very slow at reading, so I used to take extra time. So because I knew I took extra time, so you need to cut down time, right? So that is what I used to do. So I just used to cut down the time from different appendices, especially the management accounting ones, or maybe even WIR, because I know that this is a standalone question. Yeah, like just in case if I want to invest that time now instead of later, so I would read the WIR and mark WI and R, W and I respectively. So yeah, that is something you can do.
Okay, got it. And my other question was, I forgot what it was now.
Mhm.
I can't remember. If I remember, I'll drop it in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes, Vijay, go ahead.
Hey guys, quick question. I did post this on the WhatsApp group as well. For day one, I did get the capstone one solution from the institute, and I read through it. It was for about 60 pages, and
Right.
then it had the CPA's comments on vision, mission,
Yeah.
values, and KSF. So I took that piece and compiled in a Word doc, and
Right.
I'm just reading that, kind of remembering all that.
Yeah.
So is it fine if I reproduce the same on the exam day? And then
Complete.
while I read the day one case, if there are changes, I'll make amendments to my response. Or
Complete.
if there are no changes, I'll just leave it as it is. Is that fine?
Uh, I would suggest you to just, so as soon as you enter the day one, you are given a laptop and the exam starts. You shouldn't be just, copy pasting whatever it was in day one. Honestly, if you would see the cadence of it, for the situational analysis in just a couple of pages, like one, two, three, 4 pages, you
Mm.
will know whether the vision mission is changing or not, and if there is any addition to KSF, or is there any if there is any addition to the corporate values. So I would suggest you to wait for that, rather than spending that extra time.
Okay.
Yes, it is a you should, like, you are free to reproduce as it is, but again, I won't suggest you to, maybe like, I will suggest you to wait for a couple of pages, like read those couple of pages, find the vision mission. Generally, it is given in the first 2 to 4 pages, so you
Okay.
should be okay. And one suggestion, though, maybe for everyone and for you as well, Vijay, it is
Mhm.
good that you have written all of those situation analysis things on a Word document. One thing I would like to suggest, perhaps everyone, is to learn those situation analysis things like vision, mission, corporate values, KSF, like learn by heart.
Mhm.
Why? Because you will be able to integrate it with more effectiveness when you are given different strategic options or opportunities or questions, right? Because whenever a new project will come, and if you have that in mind, okay, the KSF of the company was to build market presence, and you know that this question which has come is focusing on marketing, market presence. Off the bat, you already know that, even before entering, even before writing that response, that response that you want to, you already know three pros and cons, like either pro or con. You need at least three pointers you already have in mind. And once you
Right.
have situation analysis within your reach, you have the qualitative aspect of almost all the different strategies within your reach. So at least qualitative aspect, I am done because I remembered all of the situation analysis by heart. So that is something you can surely do. And people sometimes have this question, okay, situation analysis, if I learn today, there will be changes in the exam. We still suggest you should learn, because whatever changes would be in the exam, those are like very categorically given.
And
And
it's
Okay.
not so much. It's like they'll maybe just modify one sentence and that's about
Okay.
it. But most of the portion would remain the same.
yeah,
Okay. So essentially, whatever I've compiled from Capstone 1 response should mostly be valid for
yeah,
day one as well, subject to the changes in the first two pages.
yeah,
Is that correct?
yeah.
Okay. I also have one more question on day three.
Okay,
I'm just struggling to complete my cases. I just spill over by 5 minutes or 8 minutes, for instance.
okay.
So you said earlier, 10 minutes per question is the
Yeah,
allotted time on an average.
yeah,
So for 18 assessment opportunities, that works to 180 minutes,
yeah,
right? And then I get 60 minutes for reading.
yeah.
So is that a right formula uh, to
Let's
follow in
maybe
the exam?
let's maybe break it into one case. Consider that one case is for 85 minutes and you have
Mm-hmm.
seven assessment opportunities in that, which
Mm-hmm.
would be a case 7, 10, 70 minutes, and then you have 15 minutes for reading.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, even at this point, I would, like you to, go back and think where you are spending extra time. Many of the students on the call, already would be knowing that where they are losing extra time. So generally, there are just a couple of things where you are losing extra time. Could be reading. Second, more or less, it is financial reporting question. And because that is your first question, you want to, address it with all your vigor and you want to do it well, and you spend 20 minutes on that. So
Okay.
that is what is throwing you off. Try to minimize financial reporting, try to do it fast. Obviously, you still have to follow the structure, you still have to do everything what is required. But generally, the questions for day three are relatively, concise.
Surface level, like they
Yeah,
don't go
surface level
very deep into the
things.
analysis.
Yeah.
Right.
And if and I believe, Vijay, you already are part of our technical course as well. So
Yes.
you would be remembering the financial reporting by heart, right? So like, and do give all of those financial reporting provisions again a quick read. So if you know that provision and you're confident about it, you need not go into the nausea as well. So that will help you save some time. And if you're following the structure, even financial reporting is doable within like 12 minutes, I would say.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Vijay. Yes, Tara.
Hi. Actually, I have a question regarding day one. I saw the feedback guide and it has a one AO which is relating to financial statements and then ratio calculations or some comments regarding the financials. But it's not necessary that every time they would share financials of MEI or some updated some terms. So in that situation, like where does this AO get evaluated?
By any chance, Tara, did you attend the day one strategy session?
No.
No, okay. That's why. So we actually suggest, students all the time to avoid the financial indicators in entirety.
In the situational analysis.
Yeah. And obviously then in the integration also. Why? Because the very question that you are asking, plus sometimes the financial statements or the financial data could be so much that, we have seen this pattern with the students that they tend to spend 10-15 minutes just on the financial indicators and then trying to integrate that. So that is not required as a part of the feedback guide or the structure itself, as long as you are following or doing the other things correctly. So if you are doing the vision, mission, SWOT, KSF, corporate values, plus then you are doing all the the all strategy questions correctly, and then the overall conclusion as well. So, you
Yeah,
can
you
if
can
you know.
skip that analysis, but when it comes to the individual strategic like AOs, basically, then if there's like information about, maybe for example, the ROE or the ROI, or like these things which you can directly compare your quantitative analysis, or basically that AO to,
Integration.
then you integrate that, but you integrate that directly over there. You can
Yeah.
just like simply say that the ROE which was ROI which was expected by the board was this much, and since based on the quantitative analysis, this project gives an ROI of say 15%. I would recommend that the company goes with it. So point being that like instead of spending all the time in the situational analysis, trying to read through the case and finding
Different financial indicators.
what financial indicators there are, what is the industry percentage, and then comparing it with that,
Yeah.
you can simply skip that.
Yeah.
And then just like do the relevant integration wherever, if possible, in your individual analysis conclusion.
And that also you will already be doing, even in the
Yeah.
situational, you will be laying down the objectives, right? And when you're doing your quant, just integrate your quants with the objectives or constraints, whatever they are. So if you are doing that, you should be okay. But again, just ensure that you are following the other part correctly and you're not leaving anything else.
Okay. And also if there are like couple of proposals and I'm recommending them to accept, like for example, two of four, and each of them have a financial capital requirement, and they have some limited amount of funds available. So do I need to give that calculation as well, that from your own funds you would be using this much for this proposal, and then the remaining can be funded from the bank, like if that is the case?
Yeah, so like generally when you're doing individual
AOs.
like AOs, I don't think there will be a case where the individual AO would exceed the
Yeah.
minimum capital requirement, right? So most probably you won't have to do that analysis individually.
Yeah.
But yes, if there is some sort of a constraint, it would generally be hinted towards a hidden AO, wherein they want you to assess all the strategic issues individually first.
Yeah.
And then make that hidden AO. They would want you to discuss in togetherness how the
Yeah.
financial constraint comes into effect based on the recommendations that you make.
Yeah.
And then you use that fifth AO to do your overall recommendation. And then, like you said, if the question provides that the company could get an additional LOC at say 10 or 13% interest rate,
Yeah.
then you could integrate that case fact there, that I recommend going ahead with these two projects, but out of these two projects, like maybe 1 million is something that the company already has internally, but for the additional 300K they can use the LOC,
Yeah.
and the interest cost would be this much.
Yeah.
Like things like that. But yeah, like individually you don't have to go into that much detail, that they
Yeah.
can use internal funds.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can work as a pro. For
Yeah.
example, if there is if there is an AO where like it can be funded within the limits of the company, then it could work like as a pro as well, when you're doing your conclusion that the company won't have to take any additional external source of funding.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like a balanced approach.
And a special call out, like to all the students here, to the point Guneet mentioned, never do the overall conclusion, like never integrate upwards, like never integrate the overall conclusion in your independent conclusions. All the strategic questions or the assessment opportunities are separate. Never say that okay, the company has these many funds, so you should be limiting, or you shouldn't be going for this. So all of that could be a hidden AO, or you need to integrate the overall conclusion. So all situational analysis, sorry, all the strategy questions or the assessment opportunities are separate.
Yeah, independent. Like you're
Independent.
independently assessing each of them
Each of
and
them.
not together.
Together. Yeah.
But yeah, in the overall
You
recommendation,
have to combine.
yeah, you have to combine the analysis.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Yes, Vaibhav.
So my question is that for the day one, I read the the detailed report that we got for Capstone 1. But then when you send that package for debriefing, I saw the strong response, right? And it was like very good actually. Like, I mean, I'm the guy. I'm a kind of a guy who would prefer a shortcut to quickly wind up, right? And what I saw was that the quantitative analysis that that person did in the strong response was really good. Like quickly, like in like just couple of points, finished it. Like, and instead of like, I mean, if you see the chart, it will take you right what 5-7 minutes to complete it quickly and comment on
Yeah.
it. So is that strong response, if I just follow that blueprint completely for the exam, is it fine? Or do because what like I try to give the first attempt that we did for day one.
Yeah.
I just followed your approach of vision, mission, and I
Yeah.
spent too much time on SWOT analysis. That's what happened, like all things that you were talking about, that this is what will happen. You will spend too much time and you'll screw up the AOs at the end. That's what happened. And when I read the strong response, I was like, yeah, why not just comment on quickly what happened to vision, mission, any additional point quickly, just comment on the
Yeah.
quantitative part and move to the AOs quickly. That's it.
Yeah, but I think uh, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
Vaibhav
So I think Weber in
linked
your
right?
with met and not
Yeah,
met,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I think
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I read it from the board report actually. That's what
Oh,
I
yeah.
followed,
Okay.
and like kind
okay.
of try to follow here and there, but now I realize from my own mistake.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like if you do that in your situational
That
analysis, then that will definitely take you a lot of
lot of
time.
time.
So you don't have to do that. But like one thing with the strong response is that it is like it is just something that you can see and kind of see for yourself, to just like see how concisely
Yeah.
they wrote it, how to the point they wrote it, how they followed the structure. I wouldn't rely
Same.
100% on it.
Yeah.
And like
So that is just to take a cue. So
yeah.
consider 26 people like attending the call just now, and if you would have to review each of your responses, one of the student consider is doing is doing better out, like compared to the other students. So that is a strong response, but that strong response cannot be projected as a sample that that one is a perfect response. If you follow this sort of response or this guy's response, then you will be competent in all of your other assessment opportunities. So that is just to take a cue. Okay, this guy, if he's following these sort of approaches, and he's able to pass the exam, then surely I can also, if I follow a similar approach. So do not try
Yeah.
to project everything. And also when you are seeing that, okay, in this particular assessment opportunity, the quants were so precise, and this is a strong response. Also check his feedback guide.
Yeah, also check his feedback guide to see what
Yeah.
actually he got. Because sometimes it's not that if it's a strong response,
Yeah.
he got C's on everything.
Yeah.
If you also see his feedback guide on the side, you will notice that there will be points where he would
Yeah.
have not gotten discussed but only analyzed.
Yeah.
But then if you only go by his response, you would feel like, oh, if this is what I'm expected to
Yes.
do, then this is something very easy. Like it's a balance, right? You have to kind of take some learnings from there, but then some from your own experience and like from us, right?
Like
Yeah, yeah.
like
But like
that.
when I reattempted it, like in terms of understanding, because I screwed up all my cash flow AOs and I realized it was so simple.
Yeah.
And for example, when you read through the conversations between people, the
Yeah.
first time I did it, I did it in a different way. The second time I did it, I realized that when I see the conversation type of question,
Yeah.
how do you structure
Yeah.
your, like summarize it
Yeah.
quickly?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was attempting a day two there. There was like an appendix with again the conversation happened. Like because
Yeah.
now I've learned how to handle those conversation from
Yes.
reattempting day one. I saw in day two that
Yeah.
there was an appendix, and I could quickly see, okay, when this type of things come, how do you
Yes.
summarize it quickly?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the same thing with the other days, Web, of just how we say that your first day three cases or your first day two case will always be the biggest, learning
Challenge.
and challenging, but also your learning experience. Because when you go in it the first time, you don't know what to do, you don't
Right.
know what to expect, you don't know how to time things. But then obviously the second and third time, it only keeps getting better from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we know that it was the first attempt for you, and it could be the feedback could be overwhelming. But
Yeah.
yeah, just like one quick pointer there as well is that as markers, we don't want to reward you maybe a C just because you did what was expected there, but you missed out on some points. What we'd rather do is
Yeah.
bring out what you could have done better,
Yeah.
like more better,
Yeah.
just so you are covered from every aspect. So when you receive cases from us, they are generally marked very like skeptically, just to make sure, because we only get a few cases to provide our comments, right? Our value
Yeah.
additions.
Yeah.
So we just want to make the most of it. So we know that, like the day one feedback for most of the students was a little
A bit
towards,
critical, like
critical.
students may have thought that they are being too critical.
Yeah.
And in fact, we did receive a couple of, messages from other students as well saying, oh, I like so messed
I
up
didn't go
on
clear
day
fail,
one.
things
So
like
how
that.
do I go about? And then they have
Yeah.
a list of like, 20 messages alongside, but if without even debriefing, right? So you don't need to be anxious. It like CFE, we have said it all the time that it is a, learning phase, improvement phase. Even if all of us are given, 2 more months to prepare, you will still be improving. So,
Yeah.
so
Because
this
there's so
this will
much.
never end.
No, no, definitely. Like, I mean, I'm not like, I mean, when I saw my feedback, I was like, yeah, cool. Like, I mean, because I screwed up, I knew I was like, how stupid I can be. Like, I screwed up such a basic cash flow question. And
Yeah.
then I realized, okay, like, I contemplated, I was like, you
Yeah.
can just like, the way conversation is going between the people, and
Yes.
there are so many hidden things in that. I
Yes.
You don't know
tried like
what to make out of what
Yeah.
case fact.
yeah, and I tried two methodologies there to understand now if, and today when I was attempting a day two today, I saw the similar pattern in 2021. One of the questions, they were
Yeah.
like people talking in the boardroom. And
Yeah.
I was like, it's the same thing. And I was like, okay, fine. I invested that time and I understood that how to handle it. And,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure the day one that we'll get will have like the same sort of conversation, sort of
Yeah.
Yeah.
like a setup for sure, what I
Yeah.
what I could see from the pattern.
The conversations are always there. There will
Yeah.
always be a board
And like
meeting.
one more thing, the day one that we, gave you for writing, and the day one that we discussed in the strategy session, like obviously those were two different cases. So the day one that we marked, so that was a difficult day one, to be honest.
The ones that you attempted to get marked from
Marked
us,
from us,
that
yeah.
was a little
That
complicated.
was a difficult one.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was a relatively difficult one. So what we say is a relatively easier one, or a plain vanilla. So that those will be, when you are given like 5 questions or 5 assessment opportunities directly on the face of it, rather than you figuring out. Because many students, what we, when we were reviewing the cases, so many students were not able to find the hidden AO.
Yeah.
So if you are given the hidden AO and your case is a very standard structured one. So that is what we call as simple. Even for a day two, if you are given 7 assurance questions and you are given RAM, you are given special audit procedures, you are given WIR. So, these sort of cases are considered as simple because this is what is expected out of, the CPA body. If you are given a question on, IPO procedures, just a one-off, but again, similar to IPO procedures, you are given a couple of more questions for assurance that you need to, address to. So that is something we will term as difficult because 3 questions came out of the blues, was not expected. Yeah. So the day one that you attempted later on and self-marked, that is something you will expect more, that is something you would expect to be easier. And if that comes up, consider yourself as lucky, I would say.
Yeah, this exercise has really helped me to even like tackle, like for example, the last TMB thing that I sent you. There was like this
Yeah.
segment reporting in that, right?
Mhm.
Now this exercise of swimming through, like like to handle the what you call the pulse in the exam is like you open the nausea, and I was like, I've never read operating segments, like I never went through the
Yeah.
technicals. I
Yeah.
opened it and I was like, okay, let's just copy paste and just make sense of it and just move on.
Yeah.
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 Because there will always be some, questions here and there that would be logical, that would not come from previous experience.
Yeah.
Even in our attempt, I remember there was a couple of questions,
Yeah.
and when I read it, I was like, oh, I don't know what this is. But then when you spend time on it, when you are attempting it, then you kind of you understand, okay, this is what I have to do here.
Yeah.
So it
Got
can
it.
be logical.
Got it. And for day one, like just one last question, that for day one, you're saying that that sample response, that strong response is not the ideal response, but
It sort
like,
of is.
sorry?
It sort of is, but it is, just a cue. So you just take cues from there, how you can also write. There would be things that you can, copy paste, but do not consider that as the perfect, that this is something you want to replicate.
No, I get it. But even if I achieve that, I feel like the way like now I'm assessing it, I'm like what is the achievement level if I have to set for myself? I'm saying that even if I do that, instead
Yeah.
of going through what board is expecting out of me.
Yes, that's exactly why we send that to you, because when you start, and you know it from your experience as well,
Yeah.
when you start writing the cases initially and debriefing, every person looks at the perfect board issued response.
Correct.
Now that is very long. Students don't even like know how much they have to write. So that is where a strong response helps students, that they can see that okay, how concisely that person wrote and still got a C,
Yeah.
how he made small pointers,
Right.
but he explained why. Now, for example, you're telling that in the quant, you saw how easily he did it in the quants, and he still, like
Getting that.
navigated through that response. These are the exact things that you learn from that case, but
Okay.
don't rely technically on it, basically,
Yeah.
is what we are
Got it.
saying.
Got it. Thank you.
No worries. And perhaps before we move to next questions, so one thing which we want to mention. So today we are at like September 2, and we all have around 6 days from here before you strike the final day. So September 9 is the D-Day. So 7th or 8th is something we would suggest that you start revising your day one if you want to finish up on any past revisions or something like that. Like
And
at
even
least,
going through the capstone one case, skimming through it
yeah,
briefly, like basically dedicated to
yeah,
day one.
at least 1.5
Yeah.
days, like from between 7 and 8, at least 1.5 days towards day one. And maybe starting this Friday, like 5th or 6th of September, obviously depending if you feel you have written enough cases, starting even now or even 4th, 5th, something like that, start going back and revising. So what you actually need to revise, one, again, is the technicals. So if you have our notes, you know how easy it is and how quickly you can revise. So then if you have our notes, you can maybe even divide revising technicals. You don't need to sit like in one sitting. You can do technicals for 2 hours, like tax technicals for 2 hours today, maybe FR technicals tomorrow for like 3 hours, and you are done with things. So we want you to revise technicals. So that is one. And second part, we want you to go back into the cases you wrote.
All these months, in
Yeah.
all these months,
All these
cases
months,
that you've
whatever
written.
time you have invested in your CFE, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, go back in those cases and try to see what all did you could have improved on. Obviously, some of you would have also made notes or maybe highlighted something. Try to go through those highlights or notes and see whether you have improved on those points today. And there will be one-off questions as well that you would have encountered. So procedures on IPO or procedures on any other thing, or a one-off question which usually you won't have seen in maybe even our technical notes, but feel that this is something which is a sort of a surprise question. Try going through those questions. So these are the three things which we want you to revise. So one is the technicals. Second is going through all of your cases and seeing what all improvements you could have made. And third are the special variety questions or one-off questions, which usually appear in each of the CFE, but is very different to each of the
Another
CFEs.
thing, the fourth thing that I'd like to add here is nausea. This is the time that you actually go through the nausea. You go to that left pane and you start going one by one into the important standards at
Yeah.
least, and see what is where. For example, for the questions that are very repetitive, for example, IFRS 15, you know that revenue, there can be those bill and hold,
Yeah.
and like consignment sales, things like that. These questions, you just like like go into the standard and familiarize yourself with the subheadings there.
Yes.
And where you can find what.
Yeah.
Right, because like familiarize yourself with nausea at this time, because on day 2 you definitely need nausea.
Yeah.
On day 3 we recommend that you don't go to it because you have very less time.
Yeah.
But on day 2 you should definitely use nausea to bring in the bring in the gap analysis wherever possible.
Yeah.
So now is the time that you familiarize yourself and give that quick revision. You can skip audit,
Yeah.
like assurance standards, honestly, from nausea, because
Yeah.
that is something that you would already know.
Yeah.
Most probably in the exam, and you won't need to go to nausea.
Right.
But yeah, spend time on the ASPE and IFRS right now, just to kind of look at what is where, familiarize yourself, so that
Yeah.
on the day of exam you already know what pane in, for example, it's for example, for the provisions and contingencies question, that is something that is tested. So just go
Right.
into that standard, look at what is where, how it is structured, where's the recognition, where's the measurement, where's like maybe provisions or contingent liabilities or onerous contracts.
Yeah.
So spend that time.
For assurance also, I would, maybe add what Guneet mentioned. So for assurance also, you can just have a quick read to the topics.
Yeah.
So just the basic topics like RAM, materiality, these sort of things you can ignore. But then there is a specific part which, and even special reporting you can ignore. But then the parts which you have not seen anywhere else. So just read the topics.
The
Just
standards. It
just in
basically
case
have
if
standards.
yeah, so just in case if that comes up, so you know that this question is perhaps if you are not able to answer it logically, because assurance, why you're choosing assurance as an elective all the time, because it is logical. If you're not able to answer it logically, try memorize, like just going through those nausea topics, so that if you want to refer in the exam, you can go for that.
Okay. Yes, Aditya.
Yeah, hi, Guneet. I have one quick question on day one. So the challenge that I'm encountering while just giving my case is like, if I'm not correct, that whatever strength weak SWOT I just quote in my situational analysis has to be integrated, into my subsequent strategic issues. But what happened when initially I read the case, there are multiple, plethora of SWOT I get along with me, but not everything I'm just going to use it. So the challenge that I encounter is that initially I just go through a lot of SWOT, I keep accumulating them. And once you have concluded the case, all the AOs and just reading that, there are something which will not align and something that will align. So a lot of toss and turn happens, as in initially what I'll do is I'll just plug all the SWOTs and whatever is needed. Then multiple times I have to quit. When I'm writing strategic issue, then I realize, oh, I don't need this and I don't need that. So that fixing aspect happens often. Because earlier my strategy was like I'll list down each and every strength, weakness, opportunity threat, whatever I can integrate in my AO, which I'm going to make sure, let's say minimum 3 I'm going to integrate.
Yeah.
But I believe the day one penalizes you if you mentioned something SWOT and you have not integrated it. Just correct.
No, that's not the case. You can write like, as obviously we won't recommend that you go overboard with
Yeah.
the number of SWOT that you write, because
Yeah.
at the end it's all your time, right? If you end
Right.
up writing like 5 or 6 strengths, right?
Yeah.
And then it takes time to write that, right?
Yeah.
So first thing, the institute doesn't penalize you if you don't integrate anything, because the situational analysis in itself is such a huge section. There's mission, there's vision, there's corporate values, there's KSFs. It is not possible for you to integrate each and everything that you are doing in situational analysis to each of your question. So that take that thing out of your mind. You don't have to do
Okay.
that. But yeah, in SWOT, I would say that just like try to have a balance. You should not approach it in a way that you write 7 strengths and then you write 2 cons,
Yeah.
weaknesses
Yes.
and
Yeah.
opportunities, threats. Basically, like try to kind of balance it out as well, right?
Okay.
And then make sure that whatever is being integrated in the case, that is something that you had included in your SWOT, just
Okay.
that you can prove that integration.
Okay, sure. So I can be on, I can act on I'll say on a conservative side, maybe I can include 1 or 2 SWOTs additional in my situational
Yeah,
analysis.
sure.
And I don't have to go back again once I've completed my strategic issues to delete them or
No,
something.
no, definitely not.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think that really created a trouble for me because I
Yeah.
was with that expect. And the last thing, what is the focus on day one for the depth? As in, I know for day two, we do require that every time we code something, we need that what, why, how concept
Yeah.
over that. Is it very stringently applied even in day one, or maybe it's little bit better?
Yeah. So on that, it is, we are not talking about depth. I think 2 things that the focus is on. So one is that you uh, do all the assessment opportunities or all the parts. So the 4 questions plus
Yeah.
the scenario plus the integration
Plus the
with
overall
the
recommendation.
situation plus the overall. Do not miss any of that. So if you miss any of that,
Yeah.
we will be in a difficult spot. In terms of depth required, I think I was mentioning this earlier as well. So when you're doing qualitative analysis in a individual's assessment opportunity, so if you are writing just 6 pointers, make sure that you are explaining each of them, because if you are not explaining, you do not reach the discussed level. Consider you discussed 5 but did not discuss or explain or did the why part of it in the 6th pointer. So you effectively just wrote 5. So
Okay.
you wrote 5 at a detailed level, which is why you were marked as P or partial for your qualitative analysis, and that actually impacts your overall grade. Consider you didn't do well on the quant part of it, so you will be assessed at marginal for that particular assessment opportunity. And then if you are not doing well in any of the other parts of the case, then you may be in a spot of bother.
Yeah, but when we say explain it, that does not mean that you have to write like 2 to 3 sentences. It only
Okay.
means that when you say that this case fact is a con, why it is a con, right? Just like even if you are able to
Okay.
paraphrase it into 1 sentence, it will be okay as long as you mention the why, and then for the points that you are integrating, you
Yeah.
maybe start saying that a success factor for the company was maybe going into digital marketing.
Yeah.
So a pro for this, or like if the company goes ahead with this project or this acquisition, it will help the company venture into the digital marketing field, which will like help it achieve
Yeah.
this objective that they had. So something like that, where you mention the why as well, and then you are linking it
Yeah.
alongside.
Right.
So in the pros and cons, do I have to, like, just taking your example, let's say there is a growing market, which is an opportunity. Do I
Yeah.
have to specifically write in the pros that as entity is going with this, it is subject to a growing market, which is an opportunity? So let's say if I don't write which is an opportunity, am I
No.
standing penalized
No.
for that?
Specifically for vision, mission, KSF, and COP values, you should be writing what it is. But
Okay.
opportunity or SWOT word need not be mentioned anywhere. That
Okay.
is relatively understandable.
Yeah, but generally I would do it. Like, it depends person to person.
Yeah.
I would do it just to make sure, because like even when I am marking cases for students,
Yeah.
when I see the words mission, vision, KSF on the face of a pro,
Yes.
like I would be like, okay, the integration is there on 3
Yes.
points, right?
That's a fair
So,
point. Yeah.
like why not do it?
Got it. Thank you. That's really helpful. Thanks.
No problem. Yes, Adarsh.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
Pushpa.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was not unmuted. So for the AOs, sorry, for the audit procedures in day 2, for the FR, do we have to provide like 2 audit procedure per FR, but also for the one FR which is considered an audit AO, even though it's FR? Do we provide the FR procedures for that too?
That was too much of
got
FR there. So do you want to
Oh,
rephrase?
sorry. So how many audit procedures, first of all, you have to give for FR issues?
Generally 3, like irrespective FR or anything.
3 to
minimum
4.
minimum 3. Yeah.
3 to 4.
Oh, okay. Second part of the question is, there's a FR which is considered an audit AO. So do we
Yeah. Go
have
ahead.
to
Go ahead.
do we have to give the procedure for that too or no? Since it's an audit issue, but even though it's a FR,
I sorry, I got lost
Like,
in
can you
this
give an
again.
example?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you want to?
Just an internal thing.
Oh, okay, no worries. So there's a FR issue under the
Yeah.
audit as well, right? So audit say we have 7 AOs, right? And under that there's one FR issue
Yeah.
put in there. Do we have to give the procedures for that too or no?
Like
Audit
we would
procedures.
generally ask for procedures, right? Like if there is an error, generally like what I've seen is that they would always say that, if like this was an accounting error, so can you
Yeah.
provide audit procedures for
So normally the
this?
structure would be others, in an ideal case,
Mhm.
consider 3 financial reporting questions. There will be 3 procedures that you need to address to. Although the question will be just, the procedures on financial reporting, but you need
Right.
to address whatever question, like howsoever number of questions are there. Could be 3, could be 4, generally are like 3 to 4. So you need to address to all of the,
Okay.
questions. Yeah.
All of the FR. Okay.
Yes.
That you
Yeah.
have to address.
Yes. All of the FR. That's right.
Perfect. Okay. And second and last question is, how much do, so for example, audit, when I do plan, I see a lot of like financial statements given up. I see introductory background and all that
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I take too much time trying to analyze those. But do you think they are really necessary when we
No,
are doing the
honestly.
audit part of the, exam, and then
Mhm.
how much is irrelevant so we
Yeah,
can ignore?
not really. So it is mainly for materiality, to be honest. If you
Mhm.
talk about the audit plan, it is mainly around materiality that you will be using that net income number.
Right,
You will surely see when you are debriefing and comparing to the board response that they are taking a lot of numbers from the balance sheet, income statement as
right.
well. But honestly, you can avoid that. But yes,
Oh,
just give like 20 seconds, 30 seconds to
To
the
like
to the
sometimes there
financials.
can be a debt, sometimes
Yeah.
it can be they can be talking about a covenant, sometimes the company can be in
Yes.
losses. So if you are able to integrate facts like these
Yes.
somewhere in the
That
cases,
works well.
that's like an
Positive. Yeah.
amazing bonus.
Yeah.
okay. And same thing for the introductory information, like industry background, for example. Is that
Yeah,
really important to us? Okay.
like that is why day two is depth, because the case facts will be scattered all
Right,
along the case. Now, the more you pick them up, the more you kind of tell the marker that
Yeah.
you kind of achieve depth. Because like what happens with most of the people in day two is that they lack in depth.
Yeah.
Even if they achieve depth in elective role, their role, they still sometimes lack depth in FR or MA, and then like this is one of the most common reasons of failure that we've seen in our students, or students that have come to us, that they don't clear day two and day three because they
Yeah.
lacked depth in FA or MA or even the role. And
Yeah.
this is the only reason. Depth can only be achieved in two ways. One is that you are doing like the gap analysis well, and you are
right.
doing your
Basically,
own
technically
analysis.
strong.
Yeah, you are doing your own analysis with that gap well.
Yeah.
Second thing is case facts. If
Yeah.
you are able to integrate case facts, the
Yeah.
more you do in your analysis, the better.
Okay, perfect. So it's important to read then,
Yes.
basically. Okay,
Yes.
sounds good. Thank you.
And perhaps for everyone on the call, now that Guneet has, picked up a very important topic here, uh, you know, common reasons of failure. So one is financial reporting, mostly like financial reporting depth, which is to the points that she explained. Second comes to the elective, so that people are not able to achieve depth in elective. Why is that? Because what we feel is like people are not able to, complete their assurance electives or other electives, and obviously there are like prioritizing financial reporting and management
This
accounting
is also
first.
one of the biggest reasons, because FR on day two takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So if you start with FR,
Yeah.
definitely you're going to be crunching time in the other AOs, right?
And then the third reason of failure, which we have seen is in day three, breadth and generally taxation.
Yeah.
In a couple of cases, we also saw strategy and governance. But so understand, you can flunk on CFE if you are not focusing on strategy governance, if you are not focusing on taxation. So you cannot afford to leave any of these competencies in the exam just on the basis that you have done all the other part well, because day three is breadth oriented. And day one, I think we have emphasized a lot when we were doing the strategy sessions. So
Yeah.
just try to focus on depth, specifically financial reporting, and elective could be assurance. And then on day three, taxation and strategy and governance, like these are the areas we have seen, people facing some challenges.
And one thing in day one that I want to highlight is that overall recommendation is very, very, very important. Even if you have to cut short your time on one of the quant or call analysis of your last AO,
Yeah.
please leave 10 minutes like for your overall recommendation, because even if you achieve yes or pass on all your AOs and you miss on overall recommendation, you have a chance to not clear day one, and that would be like a very bad spot to be in.
Yeah.
So please leave time for overall recommendation, because that is very important.
Yeah. Kushbu, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so just two questions. So I was going through the MA notes that you guys had provided, and I had not, never gone through them before. So some of these are like, I know the concept behind it, but I don't know what these are named like, right?
Yeah.
So is that important to learn, or is that like if I just do MA based on what my understanding of everything is? Like, do we have to follow activity-based costing system or,
Yeah.
absorption costing and things like that? Do we need to specify that in the
No, you
AOs?
don't need to write that specifically, and they won't ask, to be honest. Like
Mhm.
all they would ask is like they would give you a situation in which absorption costing or marginal costing applies. If you are able to
Mhm.
apply that, like that is all they need.
Okay, all right. And then for your recommendation on the overall analysis for day one, how detailed does that need to be?
What would you say? Like,
So
Just
consider that there are like four assessment opportunities or like
Mhm.
five as well, including the hidden AO. So I would go for 2 to 2.5 lines for each assessment opportunity, making it like five-ish bullets and accordingly.
Mhm.
you could even do paragraphs. Like
Yeah,
I
could
used
do
to do
paras.
paragraphs.
Yeah, people do
Two
paras.
to three paragraphs is fine. Like maybe one paragraph where you're telling
Yeah,
what all to go with and why, and then
Mhm.
one like
what not to go with as
what
well,
not to go with
and then
and why, and then
who.
just like closing few words at the end.
Yeah,
Maybe talking about the objective and how the complete
everything
situation
links.
aligns with it.
Especially also if you have a hidden AO, you can
Yeah,
mention that.
you'll have to mention that as well.
Although not giving any cues out here, but to everyone, day one hidden AO, could be financial constraints, especially if it is mentioned quite a lot. Like the case that you all attempted and we marked, like cash management was the problem. So it is mainly around like finance or cash. But then there in the past there have been cases where the hidden AO has been based on some management issues, like two people on the same board do not agree with each other, but they need to continue in the longer run. So that is a concern or a worry, and sometimes that also comes out as a hidden AO. But generally it is mainly around finance. They do not have the right type of financing or things like that.
And one more thing there is that the hidden AO, you don't have to follow the same format of quantitative and qualitative in the hidden AO. In the hidden AO, it's only about addressing it and how that impacts your decisions and other operations of the company.
Yeah,
It's just going to be that. So you don't have to spend 20, 30 minutes on the hidden AO trying to, write long paragraphs or
yeah,
long analysis there.
yeah,
And what we've seen in our experience with some candidates that we've marked is that sometimes if you're not sure about like what the hidden AO could be, if it is not specifically given in the question as an AO,
yeah,
you're not sure, there could be like a couple of things that highlight to you, and
yeah,
it can be subjective.
yeah,
Like somebody would right off the bat say that, okay, this is a hidden AO and I need to address this.
yeah,
But then somebody could be like, okay, there's management bias also, which is kind of pervasive on
yeah,
the exam, and they're talking about it 2 3 times, so maybe this also could be a hidden AO.
right,
So we've seen students who attempt both of them if they have
yeah,
the time, both of them, just to make sure that like
that
at
you are
least one
covered.
of them is correct and they're covered on the hidden AO part as well.
Yeah,
So if you have that time, because if you are like strategizing your case well, you're following the time limits, and you have that time and you are confused, then definitely go ahead with attempting if you feel like there could be another thing as well.
yeah,
Try doing
Mm.
that if you have, but only if you have the time.
yeah.
Okay. And for the day one response that you guys had shared with us recently, that is for the case that you had discussed on the call. But do you have the solution for the case that we wrote?
Yeah, we actually did share that. If you do not have that, Khushbu, we can, double check and see if it should have reached you, to be honest, but I can double check it for you.
Yeah, I got like one day one response, which
Should
is
have been two emails, so I can double
okay.
check for you.
Okay. Would it be in the solution, like the marking that you had sent us? Would that email have the solution?
No.
No?
It
Okay.
would be a separate email. So three emails. One would be your marking. Second is the package for the same case, and then
Mhm.
there's the third email. That was for the case that you can self-write and review.
Yeah, I think I don't have the solution for the case that I wrote.
That's fine. That's fine. We can share that with you.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Okay.
Great. We have some questions in the chat. Zoom user is asking, in day one, there's usually lots of SWOT points. Do I need to put all the SWOT points, or are there any minimum number that we can consider?
Generally, you can, target for 3 points, generally 3, but sometimes you may not be able to find enough points for a threat or maybe opportunity. So you can go for 2, but like generally go for 3.
Yeah, 3 to 4 is what I would say.
Yeah.
Like don't exceed that. But like if you are finding a lot of them, then you can do 4 just to be on a safer side.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it. Don't like drool over it a lot.
And
Is
then
nausea reference necessary if we know the literature as long as the main keywords are being stated?
for day 2, yes.
For day 2, yes.
Yeah.
Because, like time is always crunched,
Yeah.
and day 2 analysis is deeper. I know
Yeah.
that there can be a situation where you remember everything. There
Yes,
will be,
will be.
right? But
And in fact, this is a good situation that you already know the technicals.
Yeah.
All you need to do is just go to the nausea copy paste. And why we say that, it can save you 3 to 5 minutes. That is
Yeah.
one. And second, once you have saved that time, you will like to integrate more, because in the end, you have given those
You will
17 to
get
20
marks for
minutes.
integration. You will not get marks for writing that technical, if you write it yourself, paraphrase it, you will not get marks for that,
Yeah.
but you will get marks if
For
you
the
integrate it
integration.
well.
Yeah.
So rather just bring it over from the analysis,
Yeah.
like from nausea, and then spend that time in doing your analysis to that case facts, met, not met, why met, why not met, and other case facts
And-
here and there.
But yeah, if you think that you are short of time
Yeah.
and you are in a time crunch, but you know the technicals, so it is not a bad strategy.
Yeah,
Again,
then you
if
can
you
definitely write it yourself.
Yeah.
But depends. Do we have any other questions?
Okay, I think not.
Looks like we're all
But
done.
yeah, it was like good to see all of you 25-ish students being throughout here in the call, and hearing each other's questions and the responses. Wish you best of luck, all of you.
Yeah.
Last 5-7 days again will be a bit jittery. You may doubt yourself at times that, okay, am I ready for the exam? Do I have enough revision with me or not? Things like that. Obviously, you can ping us or ping in the group.
Yeah, we have been
People chat.
receiving a lot of questions from students lately, and we've been discussing with each other and telling that, oh, it's all like, jitters, nothing else.
Yeah.
Because the questions can be silly, but then, at
Yeah.
this point, everybody is just so nervous that you just want to make sure you're covered on all ends.
Yeah.
But yeah, like all our best wishes with you all. This is something that you worked on so hard and from so long.
Yeah.
So just the last few days to go, and then you will be done with this for the good, hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and one very small piece of advice would be, try to maintain some calm and composure in the last couple of days. Try to wake up on time.
Yeah, wake up on time.
It's like at least the last 2 days, that is like 7th or 8th, try waking up around 6, 7 a.m. in the morning if you are not an early riser. Try doing that, because just to have that flow, because obviously your body will be tuned more into energy when you are in your 3rd or 4th hour of the day. So like try waking up on time, and yeah, like last couple of days, try to be at ease. Do not try to overdo things. Do not, at this time especially, do not try to do new things. There are a couple of students I know, who could not do as much cases due to their own personal reasons. So for you, it is like a different thing. But for all the other students on the call, if you have done through all the cases at this time, just try to do like revise, maintain
Yeah,
your
don't
composure.
exhaust yourself more, because you need to, have a fresh mind when you arrive in that week of exams.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, Vaibhav.
Vaibhav.
So yeah, just adding to your what you were saying, that you burn out yourself. Like I felt it, like in last week, I was like 3 days, 4 days, I couldn't, like I was like, I'm not doing any more cases, etc. But now finally I got that energy back.
Yeah.
That that I could really get it. And I totally like agree with you, when once you're like preparing at the last stage of the process.
Yeah.
But yeah, the burn, like not it's not a burnout, but I think this is a kind of an exam where you can't like if you are stressed out, you can't do anything in the exam. That's like
Right.
200% sure.
That's right. Yeah. Which is why, this is a very good time for this call also for all of you to get a reminder to yourself, like these 5-7 days, try to just revise all you did.
If you
And
want, you can write just one or
just one
two
day.
day three cases,
Yeah.
just so that you still are in that flow and you don't feel like, oh, like on the day of exam, it's been 10 days since I wrote a case. So
Yeah.
you feel out of practice.
Yeah.
So try writing one or two day three cases, maybe like after like 2-3 days in the next 2-3 days,
Yeah.
just so you still have that flow. But other than that, this time
Yeah.
should only be revisions,
Yes.
maintaining your calm, peace, and then setting your routine as well.
Yeah.
Because like Raneet said, if you're not an early riser and you have to, the exam starts at 9, you
Yeah.
have to make your body used to that timing, and your
Yes.
body clock should be ready by then, and otherwise you'll be half asleep by the time the exam starts.
Yeah.
And like you can enter the exam hall, I think by 8:30 as well, but our recommendation is that you reach on time.
Yeah.
Like this is what we used to do as well. First of all, it would like when we reach there, we would already get into that mode that, okay, we are ready for the exam.
Yes.
We would wake up with all the nervousness and everything. We would give like final revisions or maybe speak to your family, things like that, whatever you want to do. But, like just try to be a little ahead in the exam
Ahead of
hall
the
as
game.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so you have that time to yourself to, calm yourself down and like prepare yourself mentally as well.
Yeah.
Because it can be draining. And also, one more thing, that before the actual exam days begin, you should have in your mind what you are going to do. For example, day one is done, you come back home. Now you should already know what I'm going to revise in
Yeah.
the next couple of hours for day two.
Yeah.
Similarly, on day two, when you come back, you should already know what you have to revise for day three.
Yeah.
Right? Don't leave it for then to skim through pages and then you're wondering, okay, what should I do? What should I look at? Have all that plan in your head beforehand so that you're not feeling lost on the day of the exam.
And yeah, any silly questions also are, all welcome. If you want to, mention anything to us on the DM or on the group, because very sort of like basic questions come to your mind, especially in this last week. So do not hesitate to reach out to us and ask that. Yes, Sarah.
So I'm sorry, I'm asking too many questions. This last thing is that how did you feel like when you did like the 3 days, like when you said that you come home and you revise, etc.? Because I tested like all 3 days together once.
Yeah.
When I attempted day one, and by the end of third day, I could feel that nothing is going in my head now. Right. So, so
Yeah. That is
because
fair.
like I worked on it like subconsciously. When I did that, I was like, okay, this will come to a situation where nothing will go inside. Like, how do you deal? Then you become mechanical in the exam, right? When I was
Yeah.
attempting day three, I became like mechanical. I was like, you know what? It's a task. Let's just do it. Don't understand anything right now.
Yeah.
So how did you guys deal with it? Like what's your, like I would say like a view on it, and that's it.
Like my view would be, day one you will still be able to manage because you have that time. Day two also you would be able to manage because once you come back from day one, because day two and day three is a different ball game, so you change your mindset, so you still have some energy with you. And all you need to revise is financial reporting and assurance mainly, and a bit of management accounting. So until day two is still fine, but day two, because that's a 5-hour exam, that is exhausting.
Day two is the day that you will
Yeah.
feel this exhaustion.
Yeah.
Ask me, I just like simply like I remember when we came
Yeah.
back from day two, I was like, I mean, I don't want to revise anything for day three.
Yeah.
I just don't have the capacity. And then
Yes.
I remember that he was studying and revising up until 11 p.m., but I was on bed, I think around 9:30 or 10
Yeah.
because I was just so done. But then yeah, he made me revise. But do your revisions. That is why I'm saying that it's very important that you know what you are revising.
Yes.
Especially on day two, if you know that, okay, you already revised financial reporting in MA and assurance the
Yes.
previous day. So you're only left with the remaining
Three
topics, right?
competencies. Yeah.
So like you have to basically bribe yourself that, okay, it's only, like this 1 hour and then it's all going to be over. That's about it. So things like
But
that.
it is different, Webber, when you are, you know that you have to go to the exam
Yeah.
tomorrow, and then once you do day one and day two, like the pressure is a bit different. So you will be able to perform.
Yeah, you
Like
will be
I'm
able to
very
push
sure.
yourself.
Yeah,
So
bribing is what it's working for sure. Like I can get it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it will be fine. When you reach the exam center, then all of the exhaustion will go away. It's only about the evening before when you have to prepare for it. But when
And
you are
yeah.
in the exam, your brain will be wide awake and you will be able to do it.
And even on day one evenings and day two evenings, try that you do not, overdo things. Again, have that 7, 8 hour of sleep.
Yeah,
Again,
sleep on
like
time.
strategy and composure, like these are the two main things for, CFE that you need to do. Like composure is something many people like tend to ignore and like try to overwork themselves up. But again, you for those 4 hours, your focus should be, on top, which is why we are always, also suggesting you to like wake up on time so that you have the best energy of the day.
No, no, yeah, for sure. Like I agree with you. Like I think because yeah, if something is not going in your head, and when I was when I was at my day 3, attempting that 3 days together, you're right. Like if something is not going in your head, you can't do anything about it now. So
Yeah.
either just like go with the flow,
Yeah,
and hold the composure.
yeah, totally.
Okay, all right, guys.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and
all the very best
yeah.
for the remaining days, and all the very best from
Yeah.
both of us.
And thank you for all, the wishes in the group as well. And best of luck to you all. And we'll keep in touch, obviously, until and after the CFE. So if you have any questions, please DM us.
All right. Bye, guys. Good night.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ravneet, Guneet. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.